By now, I pray that you've already seen parts 1 and 2 because this is the segue to lead up to trimester 3 and 4. And quite honestly, trimester 3 and 4 was the most traumatic part of the entire pregnancy. Thankfully, I got all my tears out, right? So probably won't see that today. I'm that girl that is true thug life. Like if I cry, I'm really angry or really happy or very sad, but it's very rare that I do shed tears. I shed tears a couple days ago, but all related to this part of this process. And so in continuation of where we left off last time, baby was breached and we had to figure out if I was still choosing to deliver that way. I was given several options. Remember, still being poked multiple times a week leading up to that. And now I'm going to the doctor every week. So they're taking the same test, same results. I'm still diagnosed with preeclampsia because of high blood pressure. But to me, I still thought it was diet-based. So I altered some things to change that. So I made a decision after talking with a professional. I could go to a place in DC and have my baby breech in what they call like a breech ward. I could choose to have my baby at home, but no intervention. Matter of fact, the midwife said, please don't tell me if you do that because I essentially didn't want that to come back onto her. So if you do that, just let me know after the baby is here, or you can have an ECV, external cephalic, forgive me if that's wrong, version. And what that means is someone, a medical professional, manually turns your baby from the bottom to the top. There are risks involved. Obviously, I could go into labor earlier. My blood pressure could skyrocket. There are several things that could happen, potentially death. That's what anything, there's a risk. I was very apprehensive of that because again, babies tell us when they're gonna move, what we need, what our body needs. So I felt like listening to my body, listening to the Holy Spirit, listening to what the Lord was saying was still very much prominent. In him we move and live and have our being. So my temple belongs to him first, but he's going to give me the autonomy to make the decisions that I need to make by his will. So I talked it over with my husband. What do you think? Mind you, the previous midwife that I had been transferred out to had suggested that I go be induced early, about 37 weeks. They consider that safe enough to have the baby. They would break my water for me. And then I would proceed to go into labor to birth my baby in a tub with no water at this place. My oldest was playing soccer, and it was very important to me that I didn't miss a game. I've never missed a game in the sports that she's been involved with as far as high school goes. So it was very important to me that I continued that regardless of the arrival. My due date was May 18th. So around 36, 37 weeks, this is the end of April-ish, around that time. So I'll never forget, we did decide to follow through with this procedure. First, we arrived to the place and we were in the wrong place, so we had to go to a different place. This person was highly recommended. Nerves are all there that day. I'm like, God, I don't know if this is the right decision, but I'm still committed. I want to have my baby at home. So if turning the baby, I had done the spinning babies, I had laid upside down, I had done the exercises, all the things that we try to do to help the baby move, I did naturally, but he either was going back and forth or staying where he was, but he definitely wasn't moving that way to his head down. So we went to this facility. We met the doctor. When I came in, my blood pressure was normal. They told me all the things that could happen. And then the doctor proceeds to have a conversation about what do I want my birth to look like? Well, I want to have my baby at home. He said, well, what do you mean? Either way, having the baby safely is the goal, right? Yes, but I want to have my baby at home. Well, what's most important to you? Having my baby at home. So the doctor proceeds to patronize me about how the most important things to have the baby safely, no matter his arrival, et cetera, which then my blood pressure went up because I felt like he wasn't listening to me. They came in, they said, you know what? We need to take your baby today. And I said, no, we're not going to do that. My daughter had a game that day, which I didn't announce that, but I didn't feel it was necessary. They mentioned that we were going to have to give me medication. And I didn't want to take medication at that time to do that because I knew because of the things they were telling me, the doctor was telling me he believed in God too. So if I believed in God so much, then maybe he could give me his prayer request so I could make things happen. So he said, obviously you're here for a reason, right? Because you can't do this on your own. And essentially said that my prayers weren't working. And I was really upset. So we were getting ready to leave. My husband's very quiet. He doesn't say a whole lot, but when he needs to speak up, he does. And he told the doctor we were leaving because I was very upset and I was not comfortable. He was not hearing me. So then the doctor tried to come back and kind of renege some of the words that he said. This is a partnership, etc., blah, blah, blah. I want to work with you. I'm going to do whatever you're comfortable with. I signed all those papers to say that I was not comfortable with XYZ interventions, that I was going to not have my baby taken that day, and they made it seem like I refused, which I did. So after processing what it looked like, it's not going to take that long. It's very safe. It shouldn't cause harm to you or your baby. I decided to go through with it. It did take maybe about 5 minutes. It didn't hurt me at all. The other doctor came in and apologized for making me upset. It was a different person who told me I was going to need medication that I didn't choose to take. They still wanted to take my son that day because of high risk. And I said, no, I haven't eaten. I had to fast that day. I was able to drink Gatorade up until about 6 or 7 that morning, and the procedure was like at 10 o'clock. So you think about if you're eating for more than one person, you're normally hungry, you're normally hydrated. I didn't have those things that I would normally have. So anyone would be a little bit flustered when you're hangry and haven't eaten. So immediately we left, there was a food truck right outside. I got macaroni and cheese and something else. And we took it into the car. We went to the game. Now that day, I never told anyone this. I actually slipped and fell. And I didn't want to tell anyone because I didn't want to alarm anyone. There were some oil spots. And I was trying to get to the car really fast. And something was blocked off. So I tried to walk around it and literally slipped. And it was some brand new sneakers my husband bought me. There were oil spots all over the sneakers, on my outfit, had on this cute little workout outfit all over me. So that was annoying. If I had just slowed down a little bit, I probably wouldn't have fallen, but I just was ready to go home. That's what I kept telling them. I'm not having my baby today. I just want to go home. I want to eat. They kept saying, you can eat here. No, I don't want to eat here. I'm going home. And I did. I went home, ordered Pizza Hut pizza, waited till it got to the house. My husband went straight to the game because we were already a little bit late. And I said, if I feel up to it, I'm going to Uber there. Because I'm like, this has been a lot today. I did end up Ubering to the game. They had given me this band to put around me to hold him in place. And I didn't wear that long because it just seemed a little extra to me. So nevertheless, I went to the game. That day, she had some other supporters that were there to support her at the game. And we made it. And, the rest of the day, we just tried to focus on just perfect peace. Thank you, God. I got to this point. But God, I need you. I still need you. So after that, I stopped going every week to the appointments because I'm like, at this point, you're not going to tell me anything any different than, okay, now his head's down, but I don't need my pressure up for his arrival. So I stopped going to those weekly appointments. So we're just playing the waiting game. This is the end of April going into May. We get to his due date. I'm still going every week to the midwife, and she even suggested that I didn't have to return back to those weekly doctor's appointments because she would do my labs. But she did have a relationship with the person she referred me to. So I said, well, I don't do burning bridges. That's not the goal. I definitely want to make sure that we work out something whereby they know, hey, this is where we're at. I no longer feel like I need to return. That's that. So I didn't go back to that place. That was in Arlington. So fast forward, just the waiting game. I did have to go to virtual work at home because my blood pressure it stabilized, but it would go up and down, up and down. So we decided working from home would be the better option to protect me, protect the baby. And it did work out in my favor in terms of lower blood pressure. I'm walking, I'm doing the things that we do to just stay as active as I can. And baby due date came and went on May 18th. No signs of baby. And my firstborn was, like I said, later than a due date. But to me, a due date is just a guesstimation. We go by what the baby says. In the state of Virginia, and maybe many states, a midwife who's certified and medically involved cannot go beyond a certain point. In Virginia's case, it's 42 weeks. Week 40 came, week 41 came, we're approaching week 42. So I had to make a decision. Do I want to go to the hospital? That was still a hard no. Do I want to have them break my water? Do I want to do a membrane sweep, which means they would check me? Up until then, I had no cervical check. So they would check to see if I was dilated and then kind of speed me up. I really wrestled with that in the last week because up until this point, I felt fine. And I felt like tampering with that would really just cause things that didn't need to happen. So I went to the doctor on a Wednesday. I said, I'm not comfortable. This is the Wednesday before like my 42-week mark. And went back again that Friday and decided, okay, let's try the balloon catheter. So we did the balloon thing where it kind of expands your insides to allow open space. I was dilated about 1 centimeter. That was a Friday.
Today is May 31st, right? 2024. It's about 12:17 p.m. This morning we went to the office and I prayed and I decided to take the option for the balloon. It is a form of induction, less invasive than my first time, but it was my decision to do that. So the balloon has been inserted and I have a burst of energy. I'm about to get some watermelon and just try to relax. I think I'm gonna make some pancakes that can be ready because baby, I know I'm gonna be hungry after we deliver him, but he'll be here soon. Hi, say hi, son. He's kicking me as we speak. Hey, Fig. So I'm excited. The joy of the Lord has kept me going, and we're here. We're here. I am 1 centimeter dilated, so we're almost there.
1 centimeter. That was a Friday morning. At about like 9 o'clock. So they consider that me going into labor. The balloon came out, didn't really do anything. So then we tried the membrane sweep. Well, we just kind of open you up a little bit. There's that. I went to maybe a 2 or a 3. I labored through the night, and I will say the first time around I didn't feel all these things. Contractions were consistent. I got in the shower, I got in the bath, I bounced on the ball, I laid down, I went to sleep, I woke up, but it got to be to a point where I was like, whew, this is painful, right? It just feels like bad cramps. As a female, you understand what I'm saying. And so I dealt with it. My sons at the time, well, still is, godmommy came over, gave me a foot massage, worked me through, we prayed, she massaged, she would hold my belly up when I was having contractions so I could breathe through them. She handed me a sock, I remember, in the middle of the night and said, remember what you're fighting for. And I'm like, okay, a baby sock. So the midwife is there, her assistant is there, who I think was also happened to be a doula, but in that case, she was assisting her. They're monitoring blood pressure, heart rate. His heart rate was good, mine was good. But I was in labor about 48 hours with no changes, 24 of that at home. I got in the bath and I felt so good in the bathtub, and she told me to get out. I got in the shower. She told me to get out because she said, we need the contractions to speed up. And I'm like, well, he's going to come like when he's ready to come. So if this is comfortable for me, if this feels good, why do I have to get out, right? So I got out. I'm doing tincture and all these different things, these organic supplements to help. One of those times that stands out to memory, when my water was broken, there was meconium, which means baby pooped while he was inside of me. So there was meconium in my womb, and sometimes they can expire that, and it causes them to have complications. So there was meconium in my placenta and womb. So that was another thing to note. Labored all through the night. We get to Sunday morning and it's like, okay, what are we going to do? Well, essentially the midwife said she had done all she could do. I knew what that meant literally, and I knew what that meant legally, that she could not take any more steps to help me without compromising her license or integrity. Cool, fine. But now my water has been broken for now about 12 hours, and I have to make a decision that I have to go to a facility, which is going to be a hospital. So then it was, well, which hospital do you want to go to? I really had tried to stay away from them altogether this entire time, because every time I went in them, what happened? Blood pressure skyrocketed. It just the surroundings, the coldness, the temperature, the hustle and bustle, everything going on. It was a lot. So we decided to go to a particular hospital that I had dealt with when I had the 3 DNCs prior to. We went back there because I felt like in that case, those people took care of me, but it was also the time my OBGYNs. When I found out and the pregnancy was confirmed, I never went back to the OBGYN. One reason was because I told you at last, you have to see multiple people. I didn't want to do that. So I went to the hospital and I was in tears to the point we were waiting to check in. And then the lady finally said, oh, she's in labor, take her back. So they took me back. They put me on all these machines. And at that point, because I was exhausted mentally and physically, I did ask for an epidural against my better judgment. So they gave me an epidural. They also said my pressure was a little bit high, got it down. And then the Pitocin and all those things come. So the next thing I know, I'm asking questions. May I have my placenta? She asked me, was I going to eat it? I told her no, but I wanted it to see it. I wanted to be able to keep it. If I had my baby at home, I would be able to keep it and do what I will with it. Not necessarily plant it. I really was just interested in seeing the inside of my anatomy. So she said, yes, we can make sure that happens. She comes in, she's doing spinning babies. At this point, I can't really feel a whole lot down bottom, but I'm just going with it. I can feel her like touching me to do these exercises. She said, don't help me. This is what the nurse said. So she rolls me. Mind you, I saw about 3 different doctors before it got to this point. I don't know anyone's name who's coming in, and they're asking the same questions over and over and over. I get it. You have to report back. It was just getting a little frustrating. So she's doing with the little peanut ball, the spinning babies exercises, and she speeds me up. And I said, what are you doing? Well, we need your contractions to speed up. We got to get this baby here. And I said, well, I don't want that, right now. I just please, like, can we just slow down? No, your water's already been broken. You're high risk, blah, blah, blah. Within 2 minutes, there's a team of like 10 people who come in and says that your baby's heart rate is dropping. And I'm like, okay, but I feel okay. Well, we're going to have to, they had already asked me twice, did I want to have a C-section? And I said, no, I want to birth my baby vaginally. It's no longer natural in any capacity. I'm in the hospital. I've already accepted drugs to allow me to mute this process, if you will, physically. So no, I don't want a C-section. So 10 of them come in. Who are you? Who are you? Well, we have to take you now. I say, excuse me, can I have a moment to talk to my husband? Because what's happening? Well, your baby's heart rate is dropping, and we're really concerned about his brain development or if he's going to survive. Okay, so you can imagine my pressure went up again. Excuse us, we need to talk. So I said, honey, what should I do? And he was like, well, babe, we don't have another choice. And I said, I don't want a C-section. And he was like, we don't have a choice. So everything from that point is a blur in terms of it happened so quickly, that process from operating room, put this on, slide over here, move you over here, give you this, you're going under anesthesia. It's just like, I can't really describe it. Disappointment, fear. Fast track back to April the 27th. Told you there was a baby boom in 2024. My girlfriend had her twins, and she's having a conversation about her delivery. And she apologized at one point. She said, oh, sorry, Maine. I know I don't want to scare you. And to me, if it don't apply, let it fly. I knew that I was having my baby at home. So all of the details they were talking about had no bearing on me. I never looked up a C-section. My Instagram algorithm was all home births. Anything that talked about going to the hospital, I would scroll past it so fast. I never entertained the idea of going to a hospital. So when that happened and we had to go, I was just like, well, what are we going to do? We're already here now. So we went to the hospital and I had to have the C-section. I was so exhausted. He came out within 5 minutes, screaming at the top of his lungs. So I knew he was healthy. They put him on my chest and I'm just sitting there like, look, I couldn't even respond. I couldn't like cry or I wasn't happy. I was exhausted. So then they took him back. My husband took pictures. We knew he was healthy, blah, 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 blah. laying on that table, and I would say crucifixion style. So my arms were like this. I'm laying back, and I'm like, how long do I have to lay here? I asked them that more than once. Oh, honey, we're almost done. We're almost done. We just need about 30 more minutes. And I hear them talking to each other. The table is cold. The room is cold. And you just hear them doing what they're doing, but you don't know exactly what they're doing. From my understanding, and I've never seen any footage, all of your parts come out and they put them back. I'm going to repeat that. All of your insides come out and they put them on a table and then they put them back in. If that doesn't sound inhumane, then I don't know what does. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. So they put me back together again, right? And I'm still having to soak everything in. So after you leave that room, you go to another recovery room until you're able to stand up and walk or something like that. I had these things on my legs because I was still numb, and they wanted to make sure that I could feel when they touched me. So that took some time. It was very constricting. So they made sure that your pressure stays elevated. I'm still kind of out of it. The baby's in the little bassinet. I tried to nurse him. He latched. He did all the things he was supposed to do. But son was ready. I think he was ready, right? However, like I said, that whole experience, I will never forget it. So they put me back together. We did all the FaceTimes, the calls. Hey, he's here, da-da-da-da. We did that. And then I'm coming into my space. When I got home, they wanted to keep me because they could not get my blood pressure down. I think I was discharged after day 2. They were like, well, normally we do 4 days after C-section. I want to go home. I'm done with this. I just want to take my son and I want to go home. And that we did. I had no idea what was ahead of me physically in terms of movement. It hurt to laugh. It hurt to sneeze. It hurt to cough. I remember holding myself and like trying to sneeze and being like trying to hold it in because I couldn't do it. I didn't have a bowel movement for a while, and that was painful. Like all of these things that were normal to me felt so complicated. I cried the first 3 days that I was home. When I had my daughter, I didn't cry at all. It wasn't even because I wasn't happy. It's just, I told you, I'm not that person. Like people who watch The Notebook, they bust out in tears like the Titanic. That's not me. I'm like, oh, how cute. I don't cry. When I was home, I just was grieving. I did not get to have the experience that I wanted to have. And I probably will never do this again because of this experience. Remember, I'm about to be 40 years old. So having more children, my chances of that are slim according to science, but God can say whatever. But I know me personally, that was enough for me to say, God, I thank you for this miracle, this rainbow baby, but I don't want to do this again. It was too hard. So we're home, we're rehabilitating, I'm nursing, naturally tired, but I couldn't stop crying about what could have been, what should have been about his arrival. When it was time, we went for a 6-week checkup. We did all the things. Well, before that, I had to go back to the hospital 2 weeks later because during our check-in for 6 weeks, midwife came to the house and said, oh my gosh, your blood pressure is 160 over blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I feel fine. I didn't know. She told me to take it again. It was still high. Went back to the hospital with my infant who's 2 weeks old. And now I think they kept me for 2 days for that time. It was too much. It was too much. So back on, take this medicine, do this. We need you to eat this, blah, blah, blah. To get out of there, I think I was on 90 milligrams of Procardia, which is a blood pressure medication that's safe for pregnant women or postpartum women. Within a week and a half, I was off of all of it. Within a week and a half, I was off of all of it. So I did end up being diagnosed with postpartum preeclampsia, which means I had high blood pressure. I did have a headache. A few times I saw those little spots, like when someone takes a picture and they put the flash in your eyes, you see those like yellow dots, but I felt fine. I did not feel bad. I didn't feel like I was going to pass out. They call it the silent killer, if you will, but I did not feel bad. God is my witness. I just wanted to be out of there. All of the people coming in and out, to this day, I can't tell you who delivered my baby. I don't know his name. And at this point, it doesn't even matter, right? It is cheaper to have your baby at home, right? That was paid in full in cash. I think it was about $7,000. The bill that has come from the hospital, want to say it was like 17,000 and I still owe like 4,000. So of course, insurance covered some of it, but some of it they didn't. So essentially I paid twice to have my baby. The financial part doesn't concern me. It doesn't bother me. I question if God allowed that to happen because I wasn't fully surrendered to him. If I put all my trust in this medical professional that is saved and Christian and make things happen, why did it go this way? Why didn't I trust him to allow that? Before time, women, we were in fig leaves. We weren't even dressed, having babies with no medication, no doctors. Over time, God has put people in place and expanded technology and all those things. But I truly believe in just the natural part of that birthing process. And I still believe in that. I still do. It doesn't discredit the people who work very hard and go to school and get their degrees and do those things, because we do need those people in place and those medical professionals. I just don't feel like everything. When I have a headache, I don't go take Tylenol. I go lay down, or I hydrate, or I figure out what might be causing it at that time. Maybe it's the foods that I've eaten. So I'm a person that's anti-medication already. And so the first time I went to take a bath, I cried. I think it was around the 8-week mark postpartum. I couldn't get in the bathtub. I paced back and forth in the bathroom and finally got in. But the last time I was in it was while I was in labor. And so it was so hard for me to get in there because it reminded me of what didn't happen. I wanted to have my baby at home. I wanted to have the baby in the tub. So this has been a process for me. This has been a whole process. To this day, even when I get dressed, I believe I have some nerve damage with scar tissue because it still hurts where they did the incision. I could care less about when I put on this shirt or this crop top or whatever, what that looks like. The scars are there. It's there forever. I don't care about, what that perceived on the outside. My insides for the first several weeks felt like they were moving around like Jell-O. Like things felt out of place. And so I share this not to scare anyone who's looking to have a child, who previously has had a child, or you're in your birthing season. I share it because I want you to understand that, we may have our plans, but the Lord orders our steps. And sometimes God allows things, but he may not ordain things. So to this day, I wonder, Lord, was I supposed to contact that midwife? Was that your will? Because just because someone is Christian doesn't always mean that's supposed to be a connection, right? She did everything, I believe, in her power, but at some point it did become more about protecting licensing. That particular doctor that we were involved with at that facility for the ECV came back to her and wanted to make sure that, we were on the right track as far as what we're doing. So I had to sign another paper saying that I declined interventions from the midwife at the second facility, the hospital in DC, and also the recommendation from the current midwife to not be induced early. Some of the things that were said during that time, at least he's healthy. You're still pregnant? He's not here yet? Ooh, you must be tired. Is your bag packed? Now, if you ask me that, I never gave I said, we're good on that. That's what I said right at the time, because I didn't, again, the more you expose sometimes the plans that you have, sometimes it allows people to form their opinions. And I did not want that in my space at the time. So I kept it mum. My own mom didn't even know until she asked me. She said, are you having your baby at home? I said, actually, I am. So I didn't want to be dishonest. So if someone asked me, I did, but a bag was never packed. And that particular morning, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I wasn't prepared for this. What goes in this bag to the hospital? So God is still moving. I'm still trying to figure out how to navigate this wound so that it doesn't hurt. I still grieve sometimes that process that wasn't there for me. But when I say that I prayed that my boy would have love, that he would have joy, that he would give us peace, that he would be kind. He's only 3.5 months, but he is all those things. When you look at him, he smiles. The places that we go, he brings joy to people's presence. And that is what I prayed for. I prayed that the Lord, he would be his namesake, one who is like God. Michael means one who is like God. My name means fruitful land. So the names that we have are important. They determine our legacy. They determine our steps. And this is a generational thing. So there are things that I had to come against in that order to protect my son, but to protect the lineage as well. And so if you're in your season, keep God first in all things. It doesn't mean adversity will not come, but seek his will. Most things do not come except for by fasting and praying. I 100% believe this life is spiritual. I wore this shirt today because it said motherhood is kingdom work, and I believe it is. We're on assignment here. Whatever you're doing, whatever that looks like and what you're responsible for, we're called to live a life and live abundantly, but we are the salt of the earth, right? We're to be a light. And I don't take that for granted that when people see me, they see Jesus first. Whether I'm in business and I'm helping you get your finances in order, whether I'm at the school and I'm helping a child overcome a crisis, whether I'm working with my family or friends or loved ones, or you see me at the store, I want the joy of the Lord to always be my strength. So I thank you all for listening. If you have questions, I am open because nothing in my life is a secret. What I said was what's tea for some is testimony for me. And I want that to remain because I believe that God allowed this to happen for me to help somebody else. And so it wasn't a part of the original story, but it is a part of the journey. And I'm forever grateful that God allowed us to be here. My baby is safe. He's a joy. He's a light. I didn't even get to talk about the relationship that my daughter and him had. That was a whole thing. If you ask me about that, I can go into detail, but they're inseparable now. But that was not the case when she found out that I was expecting. She was not happy. So God is a God of restoration. God is a God of restoration. Stay connected to a village who's going to push you, who can stand in the gap and pray with you, who can cover you, who can hug you, who can hold you, and who has the same ideals as you. Thank you for your time. I would love to stay connected with you. You can follow me on Instagram, on my personal page, my business pages, but this will not be the end of these conversations, I hope, and I pray that you were blessed.